Take a slow breath before these words begin. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let the world outside this moment wait. You are here because somewhere inside you there is a quiet tiredness. Not the tiredness that sleep can fix, but the deeper exhaustion that comes from carrying too many thoughts for too long. Thoughts about what might go wrong. Thoughts about what you should have done differently. Thoughts about what tomorrow might take from you. Worry settles into the mind like a restless wind, moving constantly, never allowing the inner air to become still. The Stoics understood this quiet suffering well. They lived in a world of uncertainty, war, illness, exile, and loss. And yet, they discovered something profound. Most of our pain does not come from events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about those events. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, gently but firmly, that life is not happening to us, but through our perceptions. Change the perception, and the weight begins to lift. Worry is not strength. It often disguises itself as responsibility, as preparation, as care. But in truth, worry is the mind pretending it can control the uncontrollable by thinking harder. It is like gripping water with a clenched fist. The tighter you hold, the faster it slips away. The first quiet, Stoic way to stop worrying begins here, learning to separate what is yours from what is not. Your thoughts, your choices, your values, your effort, these belong to you. Outcomes, other people's reactions, the future's shape, these do not. When you confuse the two, worry thrives. When you gently separate them, worry loses its foundation. Imagine your life as a garden. You are responsible for tending the soil, planting seeds, and watering them daily, but you are not responsible for the weather. You can curse the rain or beg the sun, but neither will obey you. The Stoic does not waste energy arguing with the sky. Instead, they adjust, adapt, and continue tending what they can. Much of modern worry comes from forgetting this boundary. We worry about being liked, about being understood, about being rewarded fairly, about being safe forever. But the Stoics would quietly ask, is this within my control right now? If the answer is no, then worrying about it is not wisdom, it is self-harm disguised as concern. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Think about that for a moment. How many of your fears have actually arrived? And of those that did, how many were exactly as painful as you imagined? The mind, when left undisciplined, becomes a storyteller that specializes in catastrophe. To practice this Stoic way is not to suppress thoughts or force positivity. It is to observe the worry with calm honesty and say, this thought is not mine to carry, not with anger, not with judgment, with quiet authority, like returning a misplaced burden to the universe. You may notice resistance. Worry feels familiar. It can feel irresponsible to let it go. But ask yourself this, has worrying ever truly protected you? Or has it only stolen your present peace, while pretending to guard a future that never arrived? The Stoics believed in emotional discipline, not emotional denial. They did not aim to become numb, they aimed to become free. Freedom begins when you stop feeding thoughts that weaken you. As you practice this, your inner posture changes. You begin to stand more upright inside yourself. You begin to feel a subtle dignity return. Self-respect grows when you refuse to torture your own mind over things beyond your reach. There is quiet courage in saying, I will do my part fully, and then I will release the rest. This does not make you careless. It makes you precise. It teaches patience. It strengthens resilience. It builds an inner independence that no external chaos can take away. And slowly, the noise begins to soften. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment I will follow this in my life, and share this message with others who may need it. Now take another breath. Let us go deeper. Even when we understand control intellectually, worry can still creep back in through emotion. This is where the Stoics offered another quiet insight. Not every thought deserves your attention. The mind produces thoughts the way the body produces sweat. Automatically, constantly. Not all of them are meaningful. Picture yourself sitting by a river. Thoughts pass like leaves on the water. Some are heavy, some are dark, some are urgent. You do not need to chase them downstream. You do not need to jump in and wrestle with them. You can simply sit and watch them pass. Worry becomes powerful only when you identify with it. When you say, "This thought is me," the Stoic instead says, "This is a thought visiting me." That small shift creates space, and in that space, peace has room to enter. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the mind becomes shaped by the quality of its thoughts. Feed it fear, and it becomes fearful. Feed it discipline, and it becomes strong. Feed it acceptance, and it becomes calm. This strength is quiet. It does not announce itself. It shows up when life presses against you, and you do not collapse inward. It shows up when you face uncertainty without panic, when you allow discomfort without dramatizing it, when you stand alone, steady, without needing constant reassurance. This is the beginning of stopping worry, not by fighting it, but by outgrowing it. And this is only the first step. Take another slow breath. Feel how the chest rises without effort, how it falls without instruction. This is important because one of the deepest Stoic lessons about worry begins with understanding effort itself. Much of what exhausts us is not life, but our resistance to life. We tense against what is already happening. We argue internally with reality. We replay moments we cannot undo. We rehearse futures we cannot guarantee. And in doing so, we place ourselves in constant friction with the present moment. The Stoics saw this clearly. They did not ask life to be easy. They asked themselves to be strong. Not aggressive strength, not loud confidence, but the quiet strength of acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood. It is not surrender. It is not passivity. It is clarity. It is the moment when you stop fighting what already exists and redirect your energy toward how you respond. Worry thrives in resistance. It grows when you tell yourself, "This should not be happening," or "I cannot handle this," or "This must go away immediately." The Stoic gently corrects this inner dialogue. They say, "This is happening. I am here. I will meet this moment with dignity." Seneca warned that a mind unwilling to accept reality will always be disturbed. When you resist what is, you create a second layer of suffering on top of the first. Pain may be unavoidable, but mental struggle is often optional. The Stoic does not waste energy wishing the world were different. They conserve energy to remain steady within it. Think of worry as emotional turbulence caused by clinging to outcomes, clinging to certainty, clinging to comfort. But life is movement. It changes whether we approve or not. When you loosen your grip, when you stop demanding guarantees from an uncertain world, the inner storm begins to calm. There is a deep relief that comes from saying, "I will face whatever comes," not because you are fearless, but because you trust your ability to endure. This trust is not blind optimism. It is earned through reflection, through remembering past hardships you survived, through recognizing your own resilience. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he had been given everything necessary to meet life as it unfolds. Not everything he wanted, but everything he needed. Strength grows when you stop underestimating yourself. Modern worry often comes from the belief that discomfort will destroy us, that uncertainty is unbearable, that pain is permanent. The Stoic gently dismantles these beliefs. They observe that emotions rise and fall, situations change, even the hardest seasons pass. What remains is your character, your response, your inner posture. When you accept this, patience emerges naturally. Patience is not waiting passively. It is standing calmly within time. It is allowing processes to unfold without rushing them out of fear. Worry demands immediate resolution. Stoicism teaches endurance. There is dignity in patience. There is self-respect in not panicking. When you refuse to let worry rush your thoughts, you reclaim authority over your inner world. You stop being dragged by every anxious impulse. You begin to move deliberately. This is where emotional discipline enters quietly. Emotional discipline is not suppression, it is discernment. It is knowing which emotions deserve expression and which deserve observation without obedience. Worry often asks for immediate action, immediate reassurance, immediate escape. The disciplined mind pauses and asks, "Is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this aligned with who I want to be?" Seneca spoke often about unnecessary suffering. He believed that many people suffer not because life is cruel, but because they add fear to facts. Facts are manageable. Fear magnifies them beyond reason. The Stoic learns to meet facts plainly, without dramatic interpretation. Imagine standing in the rain. You can curse the sky, tense your body, and feel miserable. Or you can acknowledge the rain, adjust your pace, and continue walking. The rain does not change, but your experience does. Worry is often the act of mentally cursing the rain. As you practice acceptance, something unexpected happens. You feel lighter, not because problems disappear, but because you stop carrying them twice. You face what is required of you in the present moment, and you leave the rest where it belongs. This creates space for resilience. Resilience is not toughness. It is flexibility. It is the ability to bend without breaking. The Stoics admired resilience because it allows a person to remain whole, even under pressure. Worry, by contrast, makes the mind rigid, brittle, easily fractured. When you accept life as it is, you become more adaptable. You stop wasting energy resisting change. You become like water, adjusting shape without losing essence. This is quiet power. And within this power, there is a calm courage. The courage to say, I do not need certainty to be steady. The courage to stand alone in your values, even when outcomes are unclear. The courage to trust your character more than your fears. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment I will follow this in my life, and share this message with others who may need it. Now breathe again, slowly. Let the mind settle further. There is another layer to worry that the Stoics addressed with remarkable insight. It is the habit of borrowing trouble from the future. The mind travels forward, imagines loss, rehearses pain, and returns exhausted. Yet nothing has actually happened. Marcus Aurelius warned himself not to live as if he had 10,000 years ahead, nor as if disaster were already guaranteed. He stayed anchored in the present task, the present duty, the present breath. Worry dissolves when attention returns home. The present moment is where your power lives, not in yesterday, not in tomorrow. When you abandon the present, worry fills the vacuum. When you inhabit it fully, worry has nowhere to stand. This is not denial of planning. The Stoics planned wisely, but they did not emotionally live in their plans. They prepared with reason and released with grace. Once preparation was complete, they returned to now. You can practice this gently. When worry pulls you forward, ask yourself, what is required of me in this moment? Often the answer is simple. Breathe, act with integrity, rest, speak honestly, do the next small thing well. Worry wants to solve your entire life at once. Stoicism teaches you to live it one moment at a time, and in this simplicity, peace begins to grow. Let us slow down even more now, not because there is nothing to do, but because clarity does not arrive through speed. It arrives through stillness. There is a subtle source of worry that the Stoics understood deeply, though it often goes unnoticed in modern life. It is the need for validation, the quiet dependence on approval, the fear of being misunderstood, judged, dismissed, or forgotten. Much of what troubles the mind is not danger, but the imagined gaze of others. You may worry about how you appear, about whether you are enough, about whether your choices will be approved, praised, or accepted. Even when alone, the mind can feel crowded with invisible observers. This creates tension. It fragments the self. It pulls your peace outward, placing it in hands that were never meant to hold it. The Stoics gently withdrew their sense of worth from external opinion, not because they rejected others, but because they respected themselves. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he did not need applause from those who did not understand his values. He returned again and again to one question: is my action aligned with my character? Worry fades when self-respect grows. When your inner compass becomes stronger than the noise around you, when you measure your life by integrity rather than reaction. Think about how exhausting it is to live for approval. The constant adjustment, the careful wording, the shrinking or expanding of yourself to fit expectations that change depending on who is watching. This is not freedom. This is quiet captivity. The Stoic chooses independence of mind, not isolation, but sovereignty. They understand that people will misunderstand. They will criticize. They will project their fears and values onto you. This is unavoidable. What is avoidable is surrendering your inner peace to their opinions. Seneca warned that the one who depends on praise lives anxiously, because praise is never guaranteed. Today it arrives, tomorrow it disappears. The Stoic instead builds a stable foundation within. When you know why you live the way you do, external judgment loses its power to disturb you. This does not make you cold, it makes you centered. You can listen without collapsing. You can receive feedback without losing yourself. You can stand alone without feeling abandoned. Standing alone is one of the most misunderstood strengths. Many fear it. They associate it with loneliness. But the Stoics saw it differently. Standing alone means standing with your principles when the crowd moves elsewhere. It means remaining calm when others panic. It means choosing what is right even when it is not rewarded immediately. Worry often arises when we betray ourselves, when we sense that we are living out of alignment, when we say yes while feeling no, when we compromise values for comfort. The mind does not forget these moments. It signals them as unease. Self-respect restores peace because it repairs this inner division. When your actions reflect your values, the mind settles. It no longer needs to warn you constantly. It trusts you. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself as if guiding a friend. He reminded himself that he did not need to impress anyone. He needed to be just, to be kind, to be disciplined. Everything else was secondary. In modern life, worry is often amplified by comparison, social images, curated successes, the illusion that everyone else is ahead, happier, more certain. The Stoic sees through this illusion. They understand that every life carries unseen burdens. That comparison is an unfair judge because it never shows the full picture. When you stop measuring yourself against others, worry loses fuel. You return to your own path, your own pace, your own definition of a meaningful life. There is deep relief in no longer racing imaginary competitors. This independence creates emotional resilience. You stop outsourcing your worth. You stop being emotionally reactive to every signal from the outside world. You become internally anchored. Resilience to the Stoic is not about never feeling shaken. It is about returning to center quickly, about not lingering in disturbance longer than necessary, about recovering with dignity. Worry lengthens suffering by refusing to let moments pass. The Stoic lets moments come and go. They do not cling to pleasure. They do not fear discomfort. They remain present. There is courage in this presence, quiet courage, the courage to feel uncertainty without rushing to escape it, the courage to be misunderstood without needing immediate correction, the courage to trust that living truthfully will bring its own reward, even if delayed. This courage strengthens the nervous system. It tells the body, I am safe with myself. When the body feels this trust, tension dissolves. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment I will follow this in my life, and share this message with others who may need it. Now let us enter the next layer gently. Worry also comes from a misunderstanding of pain. Many fear pain as if it were proof of failure, as if suffering means something has gone wrong. The Stoics held a different view. They saw pain as part of being human, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that difficulty reveals character, that hardship is not punishment, but training. When you stop fearing pain, worry loses its sharpest weapon. This does not mean seeking suffering. It means not running from it. When pain arrives, the Stoic meets it with composure. They ask, what does this require of me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? This shift transforms worry into readiness. You stop imagining collapse and start trusting endurance. You realize that even if the worst happens, you will meet it as you have met other challenges before. Worry shrinks when you remember your own strength, and slowly, quietly, you begin to feel steadier inside yourself. Let us stay with this stillness a little longer. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of strength that no longer needs to rush. There is a quieter, deeper root of worry that the Stoics spoke to again and again. It is the illusion that life owes us certainty, that if we live correctly, carefully, responsibly, we should be spared from loss, confusion, or disruption. When reality fails to meet this expectation, worry surges as protest. But the Stoics never promised safety. They promised meaning. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything in life is borrowed. Health, relationships, reputation, time itself. Nothing is owned permanently. When you forget this, you cling. When you cling, worry begins. The Stoic practices gentle detachment, not because they do not care, but because they understand the nature of existence. To love deeply while accepting impermanence is one of the most mature emotional skills a human can develop. It is not coldness, it is wisdom. When you accept that everything changes, you stop trying to freeze moments in fear. You start appreciating them fully while they are here. Worry often whispers, "What if I lose this?" The Stoic answers quietly, "I was never promised forever." This answer does not bring despair, it brings gratitude. It turns anxiety into presence. Seneca wrote that we suffer because we imagine loss before it arrives. We rehearse grief prematurely. We mourn things that are still alive. In doing so, we rob ourselves of joy that still exists. When you release the demand for permanence, worry loosens its grip. You stop living in constant anticipation of loss. You begin living in awareness of what is. This awareness builds emotional discipline. Discipline not as control, but as steadiness. The ability to experience pleasure without attachment, to experience pain without collapse, to remain balanced between extremes. Modern life encourages emotional excess. Excess fear, excess hope, excess reaction. The Stoic chooses moderation. They feel deeply, but they do not drown. They care, but they do not cling. They commit, but they do not demand guarantees. There is great inner dignity in this balance. It allows you to move through life without being constantly shaken. You become less reactive, more grounded. You respond instead of panic. Worry often arises from imagining ourselves helpless in future pain. The Stoic reminds themselves of a simple truth. If pain comes, it will come in the present moment, not all at once, not endlessly. And in that moment, you will meet it with the same strength you have always used. This realization shrinks fear. The future stops appearing as an overwhelming mountain and becomes a series of manageable steps. Resilience grows when you stop catastrophizing, when you stop adding imagined weight to real challenges, when you trust your ability to respond rather than predict. The Stoics did not try to avoid hardship. They trained for it mentally so that when it arrived, it would not feel foreign. This training is not pessimism, it is preparedness without panic. When worry arises, ask yourself gently, if this happens, will I still have my values? Will I still have my character? If the answer is yes, then you have lost nothing essential. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you can always retreat into yourself, not as escape, but as refuge, a place where your values live, where your intentions are clear, where peace is possible regardless of the world's noise. As you practice this retreat, worry becomes less convincing. It still visits, but it no longer dominates. You listen without obeying. You acknowledge without amplifying. There is courage in this restraint, the courage to let uncertainty exist without needing to conquer it, the courage to say, I do not know what will happen, and I am still at peace. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment I will follow this in my life, and share this message with others who may need it. Now let us move toward the final movement, slowly, deliberately. There is one final Stoic insight that completes the quiet release of worry. It is the understanding that time is limited and therefore precious. Worry wastes what cannot be replenished. Seneca wrote often about the shortness of life, not to frighten himself, but to sharpen his attention. He believed that anxiety about the future steals life from the present, that the most tragic loss is not death but distraction. When you worry constantly, you are absent from your own life. You miss conversations, you miss beauty, you miss calm moments that could have restored you. Stoicism invites you back. Each moment you spend fully present is an act of rebellion against fear. Each breath you take consciously is a declaration of inner authority. You do not need to conquer worry completely. You only need to stop letting it rule you. And as this understanding settles, something inside you begins to rest. Let us arrive gently now, without rushing, without forcing closure. Like the end of a long walk where the body is tired but the mind is clearer. There is a quiet truth at the heart of Stoic wisdom that dissolves worry more deeply than any technique. It is the understanding that life is not meant to be controlled but lived well, that peace does not come from predicting the future, but from meeting the present with integrity. Worry often disguises itself as responsibility. It tells you that if you think enough, anticipate enough, fear enough, you will somehow prevent pain. But the Stoics saw through this illusion. They understood that the future does not respond to anxiety. It responds only to action, character, and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the only thing truly asked of him was to live according to reason and virtue in the moment given, not to solve tomorrow, not to secure immortality, just to act well now. When you absorb this truth, something inside you softens. You stop demanding certainty from life. You stop punishing yourself for not knowing. You begin to trust the unfolding. Trust is not blind faith. It is confidence in your capacity to respond. It is the quiet knowing that whatever comes, you will meet it with the same steady breath you are using right now. Modern life is loud. It pulls your attention in 1,000 directions. It rewards urgency and punishes stillness. In this environment, worry becomes normalized. But Stoicism offers a counterculture of calm, a way of standing inside the noise without becoming it. You do not need to withdraw from the world to practice this. You can practice it in traffic, in conversations, in uncertainty, in moments of waiting. Each time worry arises, you can meet it with the same question: what is mine to do and what is not? Then you act where action is required, and you release where release is needed. Again and again, this repetition builds inner strength. Strength, to the Stoic, is not domination. It is endurance. It is composure under pressure. It is the refusal to let fear dictate behavior. It is the courage to remain calm when panic is easier. There is profound self-respect in this way of living. You stop treating your mind like an enemy to be silenced or indulged. You treat it like a companion to be guided. This calm does not make you passive. It makes you precise. You choose your responses instead of reacting impulsively. You conserve energy instead of scattering it. There is also deep independence in this calm. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer need outcomes to validate your worth. You become rooted in who you are, not in what happens. Worry will still visit. It is part of being human, but it no longer owns the house. It knocks. You acknowledge it, and you decide whether to invite it in. If this video is creating an inner change within you, gently hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment "I will follow this in my life," and share this message with others who may need it. Remember this: you do not need to eliminate worry to live well. You only need to stop obeying it. Each time you choose calm over panic, presence over prediction, integrity over fear, you strengthen something unshakable inside you. Life will continue to change. People will come and go. Circumstances will rise and fall, but your inner posture can remain steady. You can walk forward without knowing every step. You can rest without having everything resolved. You can live fully without guarantees. This is Stoic peace. Take one final slow breath. Let it out gently. Carry this calm with you.